Alright, greetings. What's good, everyone? This is Chris Dixon, and I am back with another episode and discussion here on the Tunnel Vision Podcast. Hope you all doing good and well. On this particular discussion, I will be building on the warrior Hindu goddess known as Kali. Alright. Kali is a very powerful female archetype from the Hindu Pantheon who is associated with chaos, time, destruction, and transformation. Alright. So she's very good to work with when it comes down to alchemy, shadow work, and self-reflection. Okay. So she's going to help you gain mastery, control, and healing over your internal flaws, battles, and weaknesses. Okay. So she's very good to work with for these particular things. Alright. But she's definitely challenging to work with as well. Okay. And this is something that I can bear witness to. Okay. Because she's one of the primary archetypes that I work with on my journey. Alright. And I can bear witness to, the challenging, circumstances that she's brought onto my journey. But these things are, of course, to teach you the lessons that you need to learn, about yourself. Okay, so that you can gain more deeper knowledge, wisdom, and understanding that you need to have. Okay, about yourself. So that is one of the reasons why challenges come into your journey. Okay. Most people, when they look at Kali, they see a monstrous, ferocious looking goddess. Okay, because that's what she represents. She represents chaos, destruction. Okay. And that's why she's depicted as a black goddess, okay, because she represents the original essence of all of creation. Everything emerged out of darkness or the void, okay, also known as chaos. So she's a direct reflection of that original source, okay. That's why she's depicted as black, okay. And when you look at her images, whether it's in a picture or a statue, she is standing on top of Shiva, her husband, okay, the god Shiva. She has 4 arms, okay. In her primary depiction, some depictions she has more than 4, okay, but her primary depiction she has 4, okay. And the multitude of arms are symbolic of, infinite possibilities, okay? And that's what chaos represents, okay? Because it's infinite. So that's the reason why she has a multitude of arms. But primarily, in her forearms, okay, her right hands, okay, in her first right hand, she is holding her sword, okay, and then the bottom right hand, she's holding the staff of Shiva. In her left hands, her top left hand, she's holding the head of an actual demon that she slaughtered in battle, okay, so she chopped his head off, okay, so she's holding the head of this particular demon. In her bottom left hand, she's holding a bowl, which pretty much is catching the blood as it drops from the head, okay. She's pretty much nude, okay, all over, with the exception of a garment that she has around her waist, where she has the arms of the demons, or some of the demons that she chopped off in battle. Alright. So she has those dangling from the garment that she has around her waist. Her hair is long. She has the queen's crown on her head, and her eyes are big, and her tongue is out. Okay, so pretty much she has a monstrous, looking facial expression, and even her tongue has some of the blood of the demons on her tongue, because in the battle that she's in her mythology, she ends up drinking some of the blood of the demons. All right. So just overall, a very intense primordial energy, okay, that she represents. And her battle is known as, or her mythology is known as the Devi Mahatmya, okay, the Devi Mahatmya. And in this particular mythology, she's in a battle with an army of demons who declared war against her. So when the battle takes place, she pretty much just slaughters a good 96 to 97% of the demons, with the exception of the small few that's left. They end up retreating from the battle because of how intense she carried out this slaughtering. All right, so they end up retreating from the battle, and even when the battle is over, Kali is still intoxicated with her intense energy, okay, to the point to where she even starts to attack the other gods. So Shiva comes in to the equation, and he lays down on his back, and Kali steps on Shiva's chest, okay, because Shiva represents order, okay, the divine masculine. So Shiva comes in to bring the order to the chaos, okay. So that's what calmed, Kali down, okay. And in some instances of the story, other perspectives of the story, they engage in intercourse together, okay, after the battle. And that is another symbolic representation of order being brought to chaos, okay. So as chaos connects with order, that establishes that balance and harmony, okay, between the divine masculine and the divine feminine. All right, and that's where you get the yin yang symbol from. All right, the yin yang symbol represents the connection between the divine masculine and the divine feminine, okay, in balance and harmony. All right, so that's the symbology of Shiva coming into the equation. All right, but when you deal with the metaphysics and the occult understanding of the story, okay, as it pertains to alchemy, the battle that Kali is in is a representation of an internal battle. Okay, so all of the demons that she goes to war with and slaughters in battle are symbolic of our inner flaws, weaknesses, fears, traumas, and just overall things that hold us back from becoming a much more spiritually evolved person. Okay, it's a symbolic story of this particular archetype working within us, all right, to help us gain victory over our internal transgressions, okay? Because all the demons represent in the story is our own personal demons, okay? That's all they represent. So the symbology of it is describing, a spiritual transformation process or an alchemical transformation process. Okay, so that is the purpose um, of what these stories represent. All of these different mythologies and stories that we read about. They all pertain to us and our journey. Okay, and the things we face on our journey. Okay, so the story of Kali, in her battle, she's engaging in the internal battle. Okay, that takes place within us. As we begin the process of deep internal transformation and healing. From the things that we need to heal from. Okay. It's just that the process is a very intense process. So that's why the imagery and the theme of her mythology is very gruesome the way that it is, because that's how the process takes place. When we begin the actual process, to deal with these things, it's not a pleasant experience. Okay, when you make the internal decision to face the person in the mirror, okay, you're going to be in a battle. Okay, so when you work with Kali, you have to understand and remember that you are Kali. Okay, you are the archetype. Okay, you're just putting on that particular deific mask. Okay, and you're embodying her energy, characteristics, and attributes, okay, of what she represents. And you are applying these particular attributes towards your own internal battles. Okay, so the mythology is actually describing your own journey. All right, so when you understand the symbology of it, you understand that the spiritual work that we do on ourselves on this path, when we work with these archetypes, we are living out the actual mythology, as we go through the transformation. Okay, so we're the ones that's actually living it out, so to speak. So it's very important that you study, the stories, study Kali, get an understanding of who and what she represents. Okay, a good book that y'all can pick up. It's called Tantric Kali, Secret Practices and Rituals by Daniel Odier. So this is a good book to get on Kali. He goes in on her history, her mythology. There's mantras in this book that you can utilize in your workings with Kali, as you do your rituals and create your own rituals. Okay, so this is a good book to have with getting a better understanding of this particular goddess. Okay, so I highly recommend getting this particular book. All right. That's pretty much all that I wanted to build on for this particular discussion. But I can definitely bear witness, like I said before, she would definitely help you, in a multitude of ways, when it comes down to, you really seeking, transformation and mastery and control over your internal battles. All right. That's pretty much all that I have for this particular discussion. I hope that you all enjoyed it. Like, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Continue to listen in to the Tunnel Vision podcast on Spotify and all other major podcast platforms. I now have a Patreon, and if you're interested in joining, please join. Okay, all of the information is in my description box of both my podcasts and even on YouTube. Okay, so I just started my Patreon not too long ago, and I will be uploading different rituals on there. Okay, and just posting daily content and things of that nature. So check out my Patreon, subscribe to it, subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you're interested in any readings, consultations, I do offer those. Just hit me up in my email, okay? That's in the description box as well of both YouTube and my podcast. So if you're interested in any of my services, just hit me up, shoot me an email, and we'll take it from there. All right. But this is all that I have for this particular discussion, and I hope that you all enjoyed it. And I will talk to you all on the next discussion. Peace.